The Eternal City houses a collection of ruins that range from hundreds to thousands of years old, with such ancient masterpieces as the Colosseum, the Baths of Caracalla, the Aurelian Walls, and the Roman Forum. The city is a hodgepodge of massive feats of human ingenuity and engineering, though among these ruins lay the more intact ruins of a regime that existed less than 100 years ago. The remains of the old fascist empire, still standing reminders of the dark legacy of that government and its infamous leader. When Mussolini came to power in 1922, he sought to remake Rome as a living museum of imperial glory. But this wasn't just nostalgia, it was propaganda in stone. Architecture became a tool of ideology, rational, grand, and authoritarian.
The Altare Dea Patria. The Altare Dea Patria is far and away the most striking of these fascist-era buildings. The massive structure was inaugurated in the early 20th century, predating the rise of the fascist regime. Through construction was not completed until the mid-1930s under the direction of Mussolini. It was here that he held massive rallies and other fascist pageantries. Through the element that is most significant to this building lay not in the admittedly imposing marble structure or ornateness, but its location. The monument lay just next to the Roman Forum, the seat of power in the old Roman Empire. By hosting such rallies and important events in the symbolic center of the city, Mussolini was able to emphasize his rule as a continuation of that civilization. While Mussolini did not build the monument, he co-opted and tainted the monument to become a stage for fascist power.
Via dei Fori Imperiali. Now, among the most scenic roads for tourists in modern Rome, the Via dei Fori Imperiali shelters a dark past. The road, previously named Via dell'Impero, was constructed between 1924 and 1932 by the fascist regime. It was a massive undertaking, costing around 85 million lire at the time, which when calculated under modern terms, is equivalent to the hundreds of millions of dollars. Hundreds of medieval and Renaissance-era buildings, even churches and homes, were raised for the purpose of connecting the Forum to the Palazzo Vecchia, or Venezia, the seat of fascist power. The Via dell'Impero was inaugurated on October 20th, 1932, exactly 10 years after Mussolini's march on Rome. The ribbon wasn't just cut, it was slashed dramatically by the Mussolini himself, on horseback, at the head of a massive parade of World War I veterans. This was no accident. It was carefully staged political theater, designed to evoke the image of a Roman triumph, the victorious general returning to the city, greeted by the adoration of his people and the spectacle of state power. Mussolini wasn't just a modern politician, he was casting himself as the new Caesar. Today, the name of the road has been changed in an effort to distance the site from its creator, but the continued presence of its legacy is undeniable. Statues along the way of the road, all Caesars of the long-gone Roman Empire, a political and literal representation of the character that Il Duce saw himself as, the new Caesar of the contemporary Roman Empire. Even the lampposts here bear fascist insignia, the fasces, a symbol of Roman authority, repurposed as the emblem of Mussolini's regime. Though defaced, they stand as bastions for their creator, constant reminders of a government that still yet haunts contemporary Italians.
Palazzo Venezia. If Rome was the capital of fascism, then the Palazzo Venezia was its heart. From its balcony, Mussolini declared war, celebrated victories, and delivered the carefully staged performances that defined his rule. The inside, host to various tapestries and frescoes of the glorious Renaissance, create a somber setting. This was the workplace and the war room for the most hated man in Italian history. From here, he plunged his country into various campaigns and on the course to his and Italy's inevitable destruction and absorption by the Allies. This is no ordinary building. It was a seat of fascist power. The balcony, a pulpit from which its leader spoke fascism into the minds of the masses. This building and its balcony define the rule of the regime, though they are also a reminder of the heroic resistance by democracy and the rebirth of the nation.
Via della Conciliazione. Today, Via della Conciliazione feels like it's always been here, broad, majestic, leading the faithful to the heart of Catholicism, but it's a road born of politics, not pilgrimage. Constructed under Mussolini's regime and inaugurated in the late 1930s, this grand boulevard was the architectural centerpiece of the 1929 Lateran Accord, that being fascism's pact with the Vatican. To build it, entire medieval quarters were erased. And yet today, its fashion's origins are rarely noticed. The regime that built it is long gone, but the street remains, reclaimed by pilgrims, tourists, and Romans. What was once a gesture of power has become a passage of peace.
EUR and Palazzo della Civita Italiana. Just outside Rome's historic center lies EUR, a district built not for people but for power. It was Mussolini's vision of a new Roman Empire, a modern and rational, a fascist utopia cemented in limestone and concrete. At its heart stands the Palazzo della Civita Italiana, what some call the Square Colosseum, a modern echo of ancient Rome stripped of ornament, reduced to repetition and rhythm. Its pure ideology and architectural form, order, control, permeance. It is said that each arc up and down represents a letter of the Duce's name, a dark reminder. Meant to host the 1942 World's Fair, the project was never completed. War intervened. The dream of a fascist future crumbled, but the buildings endured, and of the fascist people forgot. Today, EUR is no longer a monument to Mussolini. It's been reimagined. The Square Colosseum now houses fashion, not fascism. Yes, yet its bones remain unchanged, a reminder that architecture outlives the regimes that shape it.
In conclusion, fascist architecture was meant to be eternal, to freeze time, to project fascist strength, to silence doubt. But time moved on. The regime fell. The ideology that carved these roads and raised these monuments did not survive the weight of history. And yet, the stone remains. These buildings have outlived their builders. Their meanings have changed, but not been erased. They've been reinterpreted. What once symbolized control now invites reflection, and what was once a symbol for domination now exists within a living, democratic city. In a way, this is Rome's true strength, not in the empires that have come and gone, but its endurance. These buildings are no longer monuments to power. They are evidence of that survival, not of a regime, but of a people and a city that outlasted it.